We are live.
Okay.
Over to Akshay.
Yeah. So, hey guys, welcome to Oppia's 2020 GSoC Q&A and presentation. I'm Akshay Anand. I'm one of the org admins. And we have Nitesh and Rajat with us, who will also be answering questions which are related to the project or general questions about GSoC. Our presentation is done. So, Oppia's main mission is to provide high quality education to those who lack access to it. We have a wide variety of free lessons that are accessible on our website. We also, our other mission is to build a platform for creating online lessons that give students targeted feedback and are easy to improve over time. So the various explorations that we have targeted feedback for each answer that that the learner might give, and this feedback is personalized based on the answer. So it'll be the learner would have an effective and enjoyable time when going to our lessons. So this is the main aim in developing the OPA website. And our current goal is to complete a full set of basic math lessons, which are fractions, ratios, and percentages, using our new framework. So our GSoC projects are mainly divided into four categories, which are front-end, back-end, and Android projects. All projects we plan to offer directly links to the overall mission. If you're suggesting new projects, make sure to align with the mission page on GitHub, and also make sure to discuss with your mentor about the new project that you are thinking of, and make sure that they are also acceptable. So the technologies that OPI use in front end, we use AngularJS, Angular 8, HTML, and CSS. Right now, we are in the process of migrating AngularJS to Angular 8. So there are some files with JS, some files with Angular 8. So for basic front end projects, we would require both. Backend, we have Python 2.7, Google App Engine API on Python 2.7 for data store access, and some Bash. The Bash is not mandatory. Depending on the project, it may be, but in general, it's not mandatory. For Android, we use Kotlin, XML, and on Android Studio as well. So this is a basic evaluation pattern. This is the proposal evaluation pattern before GSoC. So we identify proposals that clearly indicate that the student has a good and deep understanding of the project. What this means is that from the proposal, it should be clear that the student has a good understanding of the code base. So for example, the student wants to achieve a certain outcome by changing some files. The student has to write in the proposal what files are to be changed. And so this would help us know that the student knows the code base. Also, if the project is related to UI changes, then the student should have mocks, wireframes, or user flows in the proposal, so we can know that the student is thinking from the aspect of the user that will be using it. That will be good points for the proposal. And also, the second point is that should have broken it down sufficiently well in a way that makes it very likely to succeed. What this means is that during GSoC mandates that there are three milestones. So the proposal has to be broken down into three concrete milestones with a sufficient set of deliverables at the end. So at the end of each milestone, we would be looking at the proposal. So if you're accepted into GSoC, at the end of each milestone, we'll be looking at the proposal and we'll be checking if the deliverables at the end of milestone is done. So do not overpromise on the proposal, since even if you get selected but you're not able to deliver on the milestones that you have written in your proposal, that would be uh, well, then that would indicate failure. So make sure you do not overpromise and that you would be able to complete what you mentioned in your proposal. So selection criteria. Selection criteria would be quality of submitted proposals as mentioned above, but also this time we require the student to be onboarded. That means the student should have merged at least two PRs in Oppia before submitting the proposal. These can be any two issues, like two good first issues that the student would have done, but at least two PRs should be submitted. And uh, when writing the proposal, we expect the students to follow the GSoC proposal template that's there on the wiki page. So this has a lot of tips on how to write proposal as well inside it. So make sure you read through the entire template. Be a lot of help. And it also has aspects about testing written inside the template. So make sure you go through that. And the last 2 points basically, which are quality of the applicants previously submitted PRs and prior experience working with the student. So this will help the mentors know if the students keep commitments, communicate well, demonstrate initiative, help others, etc. These are all important, uh, well, characters that the student should have during GSoC, because GSoC would be, you would be required to maybe like change your work based on what you've done so far, and there'll be a lot of you'll have a lot of coding to do. So this would help us know if you'll be able to cope up with these. So these are the general tips, which are start as early as possible, get involved in the project, introduce yourself to the community, subscribe to the mailing list. So we have two mailing lists: Oppia GSoC Announce and Oppia GSoC Discuss. So make sure which are Google groups. So make sure you're subscribed to that. All the announcements will go to the first one, and all the discussions will be there in Oppia GSoC Discuss. So you can ask questions there, and some mentors will answer the question. Then read the wiki, read the proposal template, get familiar with the code-based coding style, and fix at least two simple issues which are required for onboarding. And then, so discuss your idea, get community feedback. So what this means is we strongly encourage you to discuss your project ideas and share your proposal with the community so that you can get feedback and ensure that what you're writing makes sense to others. So basically, if an external person who's not involved in the proposal making process reads a proposal and finds and can understand what the project is about and what you're trying to do, then that is really good. So make sure you share it with the community. So the best way to do is to put your proposal into Google Docs and sharing a link allowing others to comment on it into the GSoC discussion mailing list, which is Oppia GSoC Discuss. Also, don't worry about sharing your proposal in Oppia GSoC Discuss in fear of copying or something, because we'll know who put the proposal there first and whose core idea is the proposal having. So even if somebody else puts the exact same idea, we'll get to know whose idea was it. So don't worry about copying. And so this would be good for you. Proposal tips. So these are basically follow the GSoC proposal template. So as I said before, there should be three clear milestones, which are the list of deliverables at the end of each of the GSoC's coding phases. And so there should be a technical design and implementation plan. So you can go through a proposal template which mentions this in detail. So then basically, if you have a UI change or you're adding a new workflow altogether, then the flows, maybe like in a flowchart form or mocks or wireframes, uh, or any, basically there should be a visualization of the UI in the proposal. And yeah, and then include time for testing and code reviews as well. So make sure when you're timing each milestone as well, like when you're splitting each milestone into weeks of work, make sure you save some time for testing and code reviews, because code reviews can take quite long if the change is major. So if you are not considering that, then that might end up overshooting the milestone deadline. So make sure you include time for that. And so what makes a proposal strong? These are what I said before: familiarity with the code base and a realistic implementation plan. So don't overpromise, and attention to detail. Make sure every aspect of the code, like every aspect of testing, user flow, everything is mentioned correctly. These are the basic proposal tips. And as far as expectations, GSoC is meant to be a full-time thing. And so if you have any other internship or any other commitment during GSoC, make sure you communicate that with your mentors, so that like the mentors are not taken by surprise when during GSoC when suddenly you have another commitment. So make sure you do this before the proposal itself, because otherwise, even if you do get selected, then there's a good chance you may not succeed if you have another commitment. And then finish milestones before every evaluation, which is mandatory. So basically, all the PRs for the milestone should be merged before the evaluation. If a milestone has to be changed, then this has to be discussed with the mentor during the coding phase, and the mentor has to accept the change. Otherwise, we would consider the deliverables in the proposal as the final deliverables, which should be done before the milestone. So quality PRs over spammy PRs basically means do not keep on creating a lot of PRs with small changes. Make sure like you put some thought into creating the PRs. So these are the general tips and ideas that we have as part of my presentation. So right now we have a Slido link that I've sent out and should be there in the YouTube stream. So you can ask questions on that if you have any doubts, and our mentors will answer. Thank you. Okay. So the first question is right now is number of slots given to Oppia. So last time that depends actually. Last time we had 8 slots, 8 or 9. So since we have already participated in GSoC for 3 to 4 times now, we would get around 8 or 9 depending on how many good proposals that we have. Mukesh, do you have anything to add to this?
At the same time, I would like to expand this point.
Yeah.
I had this discussion with Sean regarding how many slots do we have right now, and he has
Okay.
mentioned how this process normally works. He has clearly mentioned that once the students apply proposals, they will send them to GSoC from like Oppia will take forward that to GSoC community, and GSoC community is the final authority
Yeah.
who decides after that process who will get how many slots.
Yeah.
So at this moment, we cannot say how many slots are there for Oppia.
Yeah. So yeah. What was yeah. Basically, last time we had 8 slots. So depending on the proposals that we get, this number may or may not increase. It can even decrease. So this is the average, approximate number that we may or may not get.
Yeah. Uh, I would like to answer the second question, which is there are three Android projects.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
does that mean three students would get selected in Android and or selection number will be less? Okay. So basically, maximum three students can get selected in Android projects. There is no criteria for minimum number because that completely depends on the quality of the proposal as well as how many students are there on each and every project. Like, let's say there are six students and they are just competing for two projects, then obviously we cannot have more than two. So choose your project wisely. At the same time, be sure that your proposal is pretty good. We are here to guide you at every step, but make sure that it is good enough. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not there to answer. Can I still participate if I graduate in August 2020? I'm not. I think you should be able to. Does anybody have any comments on this?
As per the guidelines, when you are applying for GSoC, you should
Yeah.
be a student. So if you're graduating in August, it should be fine because by that time you would already get selected or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Since you'll be in college when you are writing a proposal and submitting it, it should be fine. Next question is, what if there are some steps that I can't complete? Uh, can you detail the question more? Like
This
what
one actually came up in the chat when you were talking about the proposal milestones, so I think it's related to that.
proposal milestone? Uh, what part of it?
No, like I think he means if she's not able to, uh, not able to complete a milestone or things like that.
Oh, I mean, if you can't complete a milestone during GSoC, then that would imply failure. So make sure you think of that when you're writing the milestone. Is that the question? If that is, then that's all I can say about that.
Let me expand on that.
Yeah.
So in GSoC, there are three different milestones. Each milestone has its own deadline and everything is planned. So you finish first milestone, then you proceed to second one. You finish second and then the third one. So at every moment you have only one particular milestone. And if you fail on that part, you cannot proceed ahead. And to finish GSoC completely, you have to finish all these three milestones. So let's say you finish just milestone one and you are not able to finish the other part. Then still there are some benefits, but that won't be considered as you that you have finished GSoC. It is just that you have finished a milestone. So That is not a successful GSoC internship.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, that.
Yeah.
So, okay. Is there any way to see how many students choose a specific topic? Or do you mean how many students choose a specific project in GSoC? If so, uh, I mean, there's no way for you to know that. I mean, based on the discussions we have in the pages of discuss, maybe you could get an idea of what students are applying for what projects. But other than that, I don't think that's public, right? Does anybody have any suggestions?
I'd just like to add, so what we usually recommend is we ask people to actively discuss on Oppia GSoC discuss the Google forum. This helps for exactly this reason, so that you know what people are working on, uh, and you can post your questions to the community, and you can get feedback from not just your mentors but also from other project members. So overall, this gives you a good idea about how many students are actually working on the project you plan to work on, and how many of them are working seriously on it. So frankly, even we won't know until we get all the proposals, because some students just submit a proposal uh, without doing any discussion. So frankly, even we won't know till proposal period ends. So yeah. Uh, so if you want to get a rough estimate, you can use OPS.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, there's no specific place where all these are listed. Even we'll get to know only after the deadline is over. So make sure you follow pages of discuss and ask questions there. Okay. With the mentors, please briefly describe the projects present in the wiki page. Uh, can we there are a lot of projects right there. Can we go into that all of them?
I don't know
Yeah.
if they want to go through each other. Maybe you can just give like a broad overview or something.
Yeah. Also, we don't have all the mentors here, so we won't be able to
Yeah.
go through all of them.
No, like I mean, like we can just talk about Lana projects, user projects, or something like that. I don't think
Yeah.
it's possible to go through each of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, is the person who asked the question, do you have a specific project that you want to go through? If you want, uh, you can ask that in Slido as well. In general, we have four different types: full stack, front end, back end, Android. So since we don't have all the mentors here, I don't think we can go through all the projects, and all of them are slightly completely different from each other. So if you have a specific project that you'd like to go through, if the mentor is present here, we can go through that.
Yeah, I think a brief description of each project is there in the wiki page, so you can go through that. And if you still have some questions, you can post on Oppia GSoC discuss, and the mentors will get back to you.
Yeah,
Or I mean, if you want to discuss any particular project further, that's the forum you can use to contact the mentor.
yeah, yeah. So basically, ask any question that you have on GSoC in Oppia GSoC discuss, and the mentor for that project will be checking the forum and they'll answer. Is there a template for the? Oh yeah, there is in the wiki page. Nitesh, can you post it in the YouTube live stream as well?
Yeah, just
So for this, Nitesh will be posting it in the stream, but you can check our wiki page. The wiki page for GSoC should have it.
so I just posted the wiki page, and if you haven't gone through it yet, I would strongly recommend that you do. Uh, it has a lot of information about a lot of things that we talked today and other things that we didn't talk about. And overall, it has everything you need to know about Oppia and how we do GSoC selection, what we expect, and all the projects. So, yeah, in, in the in the wiki page, there's a section called GSoC proposal template, and that links you to a document which you can use for which you can use as the template. So we would recommend that everyone uses Google Docs, as Akshay mentioned before in the meeting. So you can use Google Docs to submit a draft proposal, and this will help as the mentors can easily give you feedback on it.
Yeah. Yeah. So to access the wiki page, you can just go to the wiki page on GitHub, and on the right side is GSoC 2020 link. Okay. So make sure you go to the wiki page and make sure you go through the full proposal template as well, because there are a lot of tips and past experience, the points that past students have given us. Also, you can go through the past proposals as well, which are also present in the wiki page. So yeah, basically go through these few pages, and that would be really helpful. Is it necessary to work on issues related to the project? Yeah, I would say if you have submitted PRs that are related to the issue, that would be really helpful, because I mean, it won't be, I mean, it would be helpful for us, but it'll be helpful for you as well when you're creating the proposal, because you would know what files to change. You would have a better understanding of what you want to write in the proposal. So it'll be helpful for the student and the mentor, because mentor would know that the student knows, and the student can also make a better proposal.
Uh,
So yeah,
I just want to expand on the Android part here. In Android, it is completely like it is not mandatory to work on issues related to a project, because actually whatever projects that we have posted for GSoC will be entirely new, and there is no relevant code in Android that you can work on, or at least there are no issues that you can work on. So in Android, you can work on anything, and it won't directly connect to your project. Matter if you like what your PR qualities are and everything, which Akshay has already mentioned.
yeah, thanks. So yeah, for Android, that's the case. For web, if you have PRs that are slightly, I mean, even remotely related to your project, that would be really helpful. It's not necessary, but it's just helpful. Yeah. So, I mean, the final evaluation would be based only solely on the proposal, and not much on the previous PRs. But your proposal's quality can be better if you are working on it. For this is for the website, not Android. Okay. So what is the estimated difficulty for each project? In last year's wiki, the difficulty was mentioned, but it's not there for this year. Yeah, we actually removed difficulty this year, because difficulty is very subjective based on the person, and we couldn't like agree on a difficulty for every project. So instead of that, we have the consider taking up this project if you section for each project. So basically, if you are very familiar, and if you are very interested, or if you are proficient in those points mentioned in the consider taking up this project section, then you can have a look through the project. So because I mean the project that would seem hard for someone who hasn't worked at all in any of the parts related to that project may be like easy or medium for a person who has submitted previous PRs for the same project. So difficulty was really subjective, so we didn't put it this time. Anybody have any other ideas? Okay. So, so I hope that answered that question. So basically, yeah, try taking up the project if you care, if you know, if you are proficient in the points mentioned in that section in the propose in the wiki page. Okay, where can I find the mentors for the Android project?
Yeah. So uh, the link has already been shared with you, which is related to GSoC main Oppia page, in which there is a proposal template, there are projects, and even the mentor name is also there. So just to give you an idea, currently there are three mentors, Vinita, one is Ben, and third one is me, Rajat. So you can obviously check that out. But the only important thing is that you go through the link that has been shared by Nitesh.
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, this basically goes back to make sure you read the wiki page completely and the proposal template as well. Yes, that's fine. Yeah, so I think that's
Just to add on, so the wiki page was we actually keep updating it every year. So even if you read a previous version of the wiki page, please go through it again because we usually do this session every year and popular questions we try to add it to the wiki page itself so that it can help somebody who just lands on the page. Uh, so mostly we might have updates to the page even if you have uh, read a previous version of the page.
yeah, yeah. So basically go through it once more if you're gone. If the last time you saw it was a long time back. Okay, although I know the MVC design pattern, I'm still confused at checking which file is related to which user interface. Is there any quick way to figure this out? Well, I mean, if you are using I mean, if for web, I'll answer this for web. So if you're using an editor that has the entire directory loaded, most of our files are named according to the editor. So if it's exploration editor, the file name would mostly start with exploration editor. So try going through that and or you can yeah, or inspect element in the web page, the find your HTML class and search through the project for that. And these are general debugging tips. Not sure what else. Yeah, mostly the file names. So we have the templates folder, and that has the templates slash pages folder, which has all the UI pages. So and that is named by each folder in that is named by file. So there's an exploration editor folder, exploration player folder. So you just go through that. Okay.
Regarding Android, we are actually not using MVC. We are using MVP and MVVM. And for that, I'm just sharing one link. Nitesh, can you just post that in like appropriate place? Uh, this the link that will get shared with you is basically it contains what each and every directory means and module means in Android. At the same time, it also explains how the entire architecture is working. So if you go through that particular page, uh, the combination of how MVP and MVVM is working will get cleared.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's yeah. Yeah, in the website, the in the front end we have a domain folder for model, and the view and controller are in the pages folder. So you can just check that. I'm not sure what else you can say. Is there any other
Also, just to
pointers?
add on to that question, like if you have any code-related questions, you can just message on Gitter, or you can put a message out to one of the contributors. You typically would have had an onboarding mentor, right? So you can just send out a message to them, and they should be able to help you out with such technical questions because uh, it will be better if you have a one-on-one discussion with somebody about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, we have a wiki page for the website as well. And Nitesh, can you post this link in screen? So this has a very high level overview of the various folders and what each of them means. So you can go through this also if that helps. Okay. Do we need to write any code in the proposal or just the marks? If it's a UI change, mocks are necessary, but code may not be that necessary if it's just a your front end change. But for full stack projects, you don't need to write the code as I mean, but you should mention the files that have to be changed and new files that should be added. And I mean, you can add code snippets or like pseudo code. Basically, you don't need to have the exact code with the syntax and all, but having some pseudocode in the proposal might help. Does somebody have any comments?
Actually, the only point is that whatever makes your proposal explanatory, do that. So if you think you can write a paragraph and explain everything, go ahead with that. And if you think writing a pseudo code would be good enough, you can do that also. But yeah, it is not mandatory that you write code. At the same time, it is not completely out of question that it should run, because we won't be using that anywhere before the proposal gets accepted.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically, I don't write code just for the sake of having code in a proposal. If it helps a proposal in any way, right? Yeah, thanks, Rajat. So, single proposal versus multiple proposal also views on multiple proposal into one. Do you mean first? Do you mean like submitting proposals for multiple projects in Oppia? If so,
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
you
so.
can. Yeah, I don't think you can have according to the GSoC rules. I think you can only have 5 proposals and you can only get selected for one. And I don't think you can get selected multiple times for the same org in the same time.
What we typically recommend is a single proposal
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
because it's typically more focused and it helps you overall. Like it's kind of hard to work across multiple project proposals, and
yeah,
we would rather suggest that you get one very good single proposal rather than having okay multiple proposals.
yeah. Like having multiple proposals wouldn't increase your chance of selection. I mean, each proposal would be considered individually. So spending your time on one proposal would be ideal or better than having multiple proposals. So, and we also recommend people not to do multiple proposals. Also views a multiple proposal into one. That's I mean each proposal has to be. I mean if you are going to do multiple proposals, those have to be separate. They can't be merged into one. And we don't recommend that as well. So make sure you do single proposal. If a person has worked with Oppia for very long, does that confirm the selection? Well, no, I mean, we don't consider selection solely on the basis of, I mean, if the proposal is good, yeah. So if a person has worked with OPA for a long time, there's a good chance that the proposal will be very detailed. I mean, it doesn't guarantee anything, but there's a good chance that the proposal is going to be detailed. So basically, it all comes down to how you present your proposal. I mean, if the proposal is bad and the person has worked with OPA for a long time, that doesn't confirm the selection.
Uh, just add on the complete. We strictly follow the selection criteria that Akshay mentioned before. It's also mentioned on the wiki page. We actually grade the proposals on those three fronts, and then based on how that goes, how the scores go there, we select applicants. There is no we do not have a criteria there saying you have to work for a long time. So the three criteria are just the quality of the proposal and quality of previous PRs, and to some extent the experience of working with the student will help. So maybe that is slightly influenced by how long you've been here, but like you should have had some interactions with the mentors that you're planning to work with during GSoC.
Yeah. So basically, if you work for a long time, that will help you, but it doesn't guarantee anything. Okay. So I think we can maybe, and I mean that's it for questions in slide of maybe we can wait for another 1 or 2 minutes.
Okay. If you have any final questions, you can do it right now, and we'll probably wait for 2 minutes and then we can uh, close. If there are any questions after the event, you can post them on Oppia GSoC Discuss. I hope all of you have already started using Oppia GSoC Discuss.
Yeah.
So you can post your questions there, and one of the admins or your mentors or the potential mentors, they'll get back to you soon. Uh, and yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
If there are no questions, oh, there are two more.
Yeah. There's two more. Okay. First one, who should be the one to talk to for a new idea that's not present in the wiki? So if you're proposing a new idea, make sure it's related to Oppia's mission strategy, which should be present in the wiki page. And if you want to have a then if you want to present a new idea, maybe first post it on Oppia GSoC Discuss. Then I mean posting there would help you kind of connect with the current mentor, because I mean the mentor who is related to the project that you are presenting would reply to that. So I would suggest posting it there. And if you're already familiar with the mentor who's working in a related project or who has contributed code in a similar way, then maybe you can ping him other directly as well. But yeah, I'd recommend posting it in OKG sub discuss first. Is that fine? Yeah, minutes. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so that's for the except AngularJS and Python, what else do I need to be familiar with? So if you're going for web projects, you should be familiar with HTML, CSS for front end and Angular 8 as well, because some of actually I don't know, most of our front end domains have been migrated to Angular 8, and in the near future, we'll be migrating all AngularJS to Angular 8. So maybe during GSoC, we'll have files in both AngularJS and Angular 8. So make sure you are at least familiar with TypeScript uh, other than AngularJS if you're working in the front end. For backend, I think Python, unless you're making storage changes, just Python 2 is necessary. If you're making storage changes, some Google App Engine API on Python is also good. For Android, Rajat can elaborate.
Okay. So in Android, if you're familiar with Java or Kotlin, it's fine. Like that is enough for you to get started. At the same time, we will be coding only in Kotlin. So like it's fine if you know Java, but when you want to finally code, it would be in Kotlin, which is not that hard and it is quite similar to Java. At the same time, if you know databases or let's say how to work with the architecture of MVP and MVVM, it would be an advantage for you. Other than that, the languages have been covered. Yeah.
I just add one point. Languages are one thing, but I think the another major thing that some people miss out is that you'll have to write unit tests. So there'll be for any front end or back end code that you write, you'll have to have unit tests for the various functions that you write. So testing we use on Python we use unit tests as the backend testing framework, and in front end we use Karma. So some familiarity with this could help. You can just go through the other tests on the code base and you can get an idea of how to write tests. It's fairly simple, but just to mention.
Yeah, so that's basically it. How much experience with Google App Engine is required for a full stack project, and when can we learn relevant skills? So, if your full stack project depends on writing new storage models or adding new storage API extensions, then only then you need Google App Engine experience. If you're using existing storage functions, you can decide. But to learn the relevant skills, Google App Engine, if you have some experience with NoSQL databases, like any type of database function, it will be good enough to learn. And then you can go through the documentation in Google App Engine's website. But you don't need to know everything. You can just, if you have something that you want to implement, you just check for that specific function in the documentation. And so, yeah, if you have any, even
So just
SQL.
to clarify, the Google App Engine is not like we don't expect you to have worked with an app running on
Yeah,
Google App Engine or something. We use a database called NDB, which works only on Google App Engine. So that's kind of what we mean by the Google App Engine in the skills section. So you can just go through different files in the code base which use the model, and they will have typically all you'll have to do are the four operations like update, deletion, or saving, creation, update. You'll have to basically do these things, and there are enough examples in the code base on how to do it. So a full stack project, you'll need that the Google App Engine part to add a new model to the code base. Or if you want to write a one-off job or a MapReduce job, we use the Google App Engine pipeline for that. And again, there are a lot of examples, so you can easily go through that.
Yeah, go through the existing code, and that should be enough for most projects. So mentor, can the students evaluate mentors and provide feedback? Yeah, so during GSoC, uh, along with the student evaluation, the students get a mentor evaluation form as well. So the students can provide feedback to the mentor, which the mentors can see. So yeah, this happens during GSoC. So at the end of each milestone, when the mentor fills the evaluation form for the student does the same for the mentor. So yeah, that is something that is there. So yeah, that's it for questions so far. We'll wait for 1 or 2 minutes if anybody wants to ask anything else.
We'll wait for a minute or two. If there's no questions, close.
Yeah.
So there's one right now. I think we can take that. So the question is, sometimes when I ask a technical question on GitHub, no mentor answers. So is there any mentor that is available to answer by email? So I think more reliable forum to ask questions on is Oppia Discuss. That's what we ask the mentors to be active on. Gitter, there are a few people active on Gitter, but I think if you want a reliable response, it's better if you send an email. You could posting on Oppia GSoC Discuss will give you an answer, and after that you can probably take the discussion. If you want to, you can take the discussion offline into separate email threads. Another thing that you could do is probably directly email the admins, and then they can redirect you. But I would prefer doing this through Oppia GSoC Discuss, I think. 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 . 。 。 。 。 。 . 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。
Yeah. 。 . 。
Uh,
So yeah, mentors would be available by mail, though all of them may not be there on Twitter. Time commitments and quality or quantity of PR. What do you mean by the question? So, I mean, for the second part, quality or quantity of PR, we would be looking at quality. So even if you have a lot of PRs, I mean, if all of them maybe like they had a lot of changes required, or I mean, if they were not up to mark, we will be preferring, even if there were lesser PRs, we prefer PRs that have more quality. So it's quality over quantity for PRs. Time commitments. Is it the time commitments during GSoC? Uh, if it is, if you have any other time commitments during GSoC, then it should be mentioned in the proposal itself, and you should inform the mentor about it.
I think he's trying to ask about the selection criteria. I'm not sure. Could you, whoever put that question, could you edit it to be more clear? Because I can't really make out what the question is.
Yeah. Or if it's answered by what I said, then it's fine. But if not, then can you edit it? Okay. In that case, I'll assume it's answered. Yeah.
There are no more questions, and are there any final questions? Maybe you
Yeah.
can take
There are,
one or two before 11. If
yeah.
none, then we can close.
Yeah.
I think we can start. Akshay?
Yeah. Okay. I guess since there are no more questions, thank you everyone for attending the meeting. So if you want to discuss your project, you want to propose new projects, or if you have any more questions, feel free to post it in Oppia GSoC discuss. That, I mean, all the mentors will be checking that forum, and they'll be answering your questions there. And don't forget to go through the the Google Summer of Code 2020 wiki page and the proposal template. There are a lot of tips on how to write your proposals there. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for attending the meeting. Nitesh, any question?